Well, hello guys. I'm Shawn of webpianoteacher.com. How you doing? Today we're looking at Bach's Prelude and Fugue in C minor, Book 1. So this one is, I don't know, to me, the most famous one that everyone has heard. Amy Grant had an album that had a song that had this prelude or the fugue at the beginning of it. And it just seems like everyone is familiar with this one. And it's fun to play, and it's not too hard. So let's take a look at it here. We're going to do kind of a slow through practice on these first two lines on the Prelude and Fugue. And if you'd like to continue with it with a measure-by-measure instruction, teaching, and play through at the end, all the way through at a slow tempo so you can practice it. We have that for the friend and family level members on webpianoteacher.com. You can also download my sheets. And I've already finished the C major Prelude and Fugue, and I'm going to do all of them. Going to try to do all of them in a year. All right, so we have C minor, 3 flats, and I know it's 3 flats, but it's better than playing in sharps, right? So B, E, A are our flats. Every time we have a B, E, or A, we're going to flat it, and unless there's an accidental telling us to not flat like the E natural right there. I like to practice when I'm learning one measure at a time. Left hand, right hand, put them together. Left hand, right hand, put them together. Next measure. Even if I can play it through sight reading, I like to kind of take it apart and learn it that way in that sort of system. So let's do it that way. Left hand first. C, G, F, G, E flat, G, F, E. Okay, and I kind of call this, to me, I call this a Bach engine. That's my kind of net name for it. When Bach will just take a pattern and then change the chord. But it's the same pattern all throughout, just like the Prelude was. And you say, oh, that seems like that would be easy to write something that way. It's not. Try it. But Bach was a master at it. So to me, this is a Bach engine. And so the right hand has a C, E flat, D, E flat, C. So the same pattern happens twice. It's 8 notes long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the first 16th notes there. And then again. Now, when you play it, you can bring out, to me, there's a soprano, alto, tenor, bass here. You have the soprano and the bass going lum, bum, and you can bring that out to hear it. I don't think you should bring it out too much when you're playing it to perform it, but notice that, the outside notes there. And then you have da 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 da. To me, that's the alto and tenor having a little duet filling in the middle. Okay, and when you play this one, my little recommendation for you is don't forget your wrist motion. As you go down toward your thumb, you can rotate inward, and then you can rotate outward as you go up to your 5th finger. And both hands can do that. It'll make this piece a lot easier because some places feel really awkward, and if you'll use that wrist movement, it'll really help you do it. And you can even exaggerate the wrist movement when you're practicing so that when you finally play it for real and you do it less, it feels really natural and you just feel like lightning when you're playing. So, all right, so let's do the second measure. We keep the same bass note. We're going to go to a minor 4, right? F, C minor, C, E flat, G. Remember theory? If you're in theory right now. Minor 1, C, E flat, G. Minor 4 is F minor, F, A flat, C. And then we go to 5, and you have to look at the right hand to help. Sort of a 5 chord. You could even make an argument for a diminished chord, I guess, but it serves as a 5. And then you go back to 1. It's all right, parallel octaves. So Bach is establishing the key. So he'll do that a lot of times. Just starting out, he'll just establish the key. 1 4 5 1 or 1 2 4 5 1 or 1 1 7 1 7 4 5 1, something like that. So when we go to the 4, C A flat, G, A flat, F. rotate that wrist, especially when you're inside here between the black keys. You really need to rotate that wrist, okay? Because the key, there's not as much real estate to put your finger, and it really helps to just do a little bit of rotating there. Right hand. Okay, hands together. And the trick of this one to me is you want to have that little Baroque touch where you have a little separation. It's not quite staccato. We call it, I guess, non-legato, with a little bit of separation so we can hear all the notes, because there's so much going on many times in Baroque music that it gets lost unless we put that little separation when we're playing fast. But the idea is to still hear the lines, still somehow make it sound smooth and contoured, even though we're playing that way. So, yep. There's still that rise and, follow the ocean waves there. The musical river, sometimes I call it, because it's flowing and everything, when the river flows, it's natural. And so if there's a rock in the way or something, the waves will kind of rush around that a little bit, but then they slow back down after they come, so that everything should be natural as you're, feel that swell. And you can hold on to some notes a little longer. And dynamics, of course. And you can play around with that and see what you'd like to do. There's so many variations on how our favorite performers play this one. There's, you can put your own spin on it, as long as you keep the original, feeling and of it, which to me is escape. This feels like an energetic piece where you're, kind of liking this. Bach was a Christian, so I feel like a lot of his music, he had themes of his faith and truth in it. And to me, if the first prelude is a lullaby and the first fugue is a proclamation of whatever it is, I won't go too far, I don't have it memorized, of the angels proclaiming to the shepherds, da, 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 then this one is their escape into Egypt. So I like to do that. I like to have something in mind for the personality of the piece. And this one is certainly has an excitement and an energy about it. Okay, so as we go to, did we talk about the 5? B natural, F, E flat, F, D. All right, and the left hand stays the same, but you have to see, when you do chord analysis, you can't just look at the left hand. You have to look at what's going on in the right hand too. That's part of it. And then, so back to C minor, C, G, F, G, E flat, C, E flat, D, E flat, G. Then we have a major 6. Remember, in the minor key, the 6 is major, not major, it's flipped. In a major key, the 6 is minor, but in a minor key, the 6 is major. And it's an A flat chord, A flat, C, E flat. And left hand C, C, B flat, C, right hand E flat, A flat, G, A flat. See, I'm moving. And I have to go to this other camera view so you can see your elbows will go in and out. There's so much freedom in that. Loosen up. Don't be tense. Okay, and then we have a D7, which is a 5/7 of the minor 5, but I just think D7, I can analyze, do form analysis and stuff, but when I'm playing, I just think of what the chord is. It's a D7. Okay, C, A, G, A, F sharp, right hand D, F sharp, E, F sharp, D, so. And you can even hold on to that soprano and bass note just a little bit, even though the music doesn't say to do that. We can kind of hold on to them a little bit more than the others. feel like that, you don't have to go, you know. Okay, so you can experiment with how you want to play this. I just always like to, when someone hears me play this, I want them to hear Bach. I don't want them to hear me. So, you know, there's some players that are so out there in their interpretation. Either they're praised or they're, you know, ridiculed for whatever. But to me, that's not what music is about. Music is about enjoyment, refreshment of the soul. And to Bach, it was that as well as to the glory of God, everything he wrote. He would put that at the end of everything he wrote. And it's bigger than that. So I just like to be the vehicle through which this, you know, music comes through. And even though I have some personal tastes of how to play something here and there, it's only because I feel like that's what this piece needs, not because I want to do this or I want to show off or whatever. So that moment you can stop showing off and desiring showing off and just let it be about the music, then you can enjoy it and everyone around you can enjoy it, and you'll have a I don't know, just a different outlook on these pieces than you ever had. I love them. They've always been here my whole life, and I've just learned them in the last couple of years, this whole book. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to move to the fugue now, okay? So that's our tips and tricks for the Prelude. And again, on the website, as a friend and family member at webpianoteacher.com, you can get a measure-by-measure all the way through. Yeah, the lessons are long, but that's what it takes to learn this. All right, let's see if I can switch without getting up. There we go. I did it. So this one, to me, is the most famous fugue. I think even Liszt played this for Beethoven when he was as a kid. I think. I'm not quite sure on that. I think I read that somewhere. But it's really a really cool. It's not very hard as compared to the other fugues. All of them can be difficult, sure. But it's one of the easier ones, I think. I think it's easier than the C major to me. So let's look at it. And when you first start a fugue, you definitely want to go through and mark all the subjects. You know what a subject is? Remember that? It always comes in a fugue. It's stated all by itself. One of the voices will do it. And this one, the alto goes first. And then the soprano. We have a little episode, which Bach will commonly do, and then we bring it in again, and it comes in the bass, and it's just a three-voice fugue. So those are the three entrances. It's called the exposition of the fugue. Okay, and you have the subject comes in all voices, one at a time, and you want to mark those. You want to know every time the subject's going on. Now, you don't have to bring it out and make it extra loud every time, but be aware that you're playing the subject. I mean, you can just be studying, playing this music, and let an entrance of the subject go by. I've done that, and you know we need to know where that is. Now, there's other things we can study in the fugue, but that's the main thing because the whole piece is built around that subject, and you need to know every entrance. So I recommend marking up your music and. So you know, and you can always see that. All right, so again, we just have still a mysterious sound and intrigue in the key of C minor. To me, C minor is never sad. It's always mysterious nature to it, to me. So we play the subject, and we can actually go two measures because there's only one note at a time here. It's one voice. So let's play the subject for two measures. 1 and a 2 and 3. Now see how I'm adding that articulation? Those staccatos aren't written in. But, we can just kind of feel where the music is going, where the line is going. So I think that makes it interesting to put those staccatos in the eighth notes there. Now we're on the third measure. So here's where we break it up. We go left hand first. Okay, now I go left hand first every time because we always neglect the left hand, right? Left hand is always the hand we have some trouble with. When our memory goes, it's always the left hand that falters, right? So I like to do it first. I like to give it first place when I'm practicing so that I really know it. I don't want to give it to leftovers, okay? I want it to go first. So that's what I'm doing here. And then I do right hand. Okay? Now, some people are not hand separate people. They don't ever think they need to play their hands separately. I have to when I'm learning something because it really makes me hear it and makes me realize what's in the music. And then when I put it back together, it's okay. So it's not necessarily for the technique. It's for my ear so that I hear those voices going on when I'm playing the right hand. Because the right hand you kind of always hear anyway. But to hear those interior voices and the bass and all that, doing the left hand separately makes me really conscious of those voices, what's going on. So hands together. All right, then I would play the next measure. Oh, I didn't do left hand first. I should have done that. I was testing you. See if you knew that I did that. Okay, then we put them together. All right, then we continue with hands separate. So the point is to have a system of practicing. I could, when I first played this, I had a sight reading level where I could go through it and I could get through it to the end. But that's not how I want to work on it, not just playing it hands together all the way through over and over. I'll get more familiar with the piece as a whole, I guess, but I don't really learn the nuts and bolts of it, and that's what I want. So taking it apart and doing hands separately, put them together, even just a little bit, is of tremendous value, I think. And by the way, if you're wanting to play this, even if you can play it physically and musically, you think you're at a place where you could do it. If you cannot sight read well enough to play the right and left hand separately without just struggling, you need to get that sight reading level up first, and this will be a lot easier for you. So how do you do that? It doesn't just happen naturally. Musical talent doesn't make you a good sight reader. You have to do the right things. I have a sight reading boot camp on my website for friend and family level members. You got to be friend and family. The partner won't do it. And you can do the 100 lessons. There's volume 1 and 2, and they'll help you get that sight reading level up to where it needs to be so that you can actually do these pieces, because you just don't have the ammunition to learn these if you can't read well enough to get through it. Okay, so you need to develop that ability to play without looking at your hands. That doesn't happen automatically. You have to work on that. You have to play a lot of pieces looking at the music, not looking at your hands, and practice that, because you're not automatically going to have that. A lot of us are used to staring at our hands because we're memorizers and performers, so we're looking at our hands all the time. So to not look at them is quite daunting, quite challenging, and it doesn't happen automatically. So to develop that sight reading skill, that's why I put those lessons on there. It'll help you increase and make better that sight reading ability, that skill, so that you can do it. So as you're working on this piece and you're going through measure by measure, and then left, right hand, put them together, and then adding the measures together where you can get to where you can play the first 3 systems with hands together, maybe slow. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do right now. And again, measure by measure is on the website, but for this free video on YouTube, I'll play these first 3. I'm playing that kind of dry and straightforward, because that's how we want to practice when we're getting the notes under our fingers. Sure, we want to be musical and lyrical and all of that, but I like to cover my bases first and make sure I have it underneath my fingers before I, really try to do some other things, because we don't want that part of it to fall apart. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little look into the Prelude and Fugue in C minor, Book 1. Again, we do. I plan to have all 24 Preludes and Fugues of Book 1 on the website this summer. And you can learn these in a year. I did it. Now, I didn't mean I memorized them all in a year or could play them very fast in a year, but I learned them in a year. Just kind of sight reading, playing through them like we're doing right here, doing a different Prelude and Fugue every day. Some of them are harder than others, so I went in a certain order. The C sharp is probably the hardest for me, at least. So I'd recommend after you do the C major and C minor, maybe go to D and then F and then B flat instead of going to C sharp and D sharp minor. Those are tougher keys to play in, and they were just harder for me, so they might be for you too. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Talk to you later.